A very vibrant being ready to jump on and just share herself, her perspective, her experience with us today. It is with great excitement and a little bit of like body tingles that I welcome Lyndall to the Mindset Makeovers podcast. Hi, girl.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. What an introduction. Happy to be here.
As we were jumping on, you said to me, like, what do you want me to talk about today? And to be honest, I am just captivated by, I'm not going to use the word authenticity because I feel like that's been like squeezed dry and it's a bit of a yawn fest when we use that word, but just your embodied expression. So, Lyndall and I have been connected through my beautiful friend, Sydney of Formation Fitness, and the things that they're creating together through Back to Basics. They have their own podcast and so much more. And so I've just been captivated with the content that you are putting out and the way that you're just really embodying what it means, not to give zero fucks, but to give all the fucks you have in the world in creating something that is meaningful and impactful. Did you want to speak to what's kind of coming through you and, what has been the inspiration for what you're currently producing? Because I know you're not new to this game. I know you're not new to, standing as a strong stand for empowering women and supporting women, but something just feels a little different around, what's been activated within you.
Yeah, so I guess, the online world started for me probably when I was like 15, and back then there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. We had the likes of Tumblr, LiveJournal, like those sort of platforms way back when. And I actually started my first business on LiveJournal when I was like 16, as you do. So I think for me, having an online presence and creating content has been something that I've done for, over 20 years now. And it's always evolving. And I think it's important to look at it from two sides because I have an online business that is quite heavily marketed through social media. So I really understand the reasons behind the things that people post online, why they do it, the image they're trying to portray. And then I also have a background in social media marketing communication. So from that professional side of things, I also kind of look at it from that as well. And I think the biggest question we have to ask ourselves is, we all want to show up to be our most authentic selves online and to really bring that across to our customers. But where's the line, between showing up and being authentic and really kind of taking it too far? Because I strongly believe that, yes, it's necessary to show up and be your true self and to try and get that across. But I also believe that the internet doesn't need to know everything about you either. You know what I mean? And sometimes when people try and share too much, it comes across as a little bit cringe, I find. So I think this is really what me and Sandra from Formation Fitness really kind of wanted to dive into when we created the Back to Basics podcast of, not being controversial for the sake of being controversial, but really being true to ourselves and really speaking our truth with, issues that all women face, everything from mindset to motivation to fitness to sex, relationships, and everything in between. It's, where is the truth in that? Because I think, when I was growing up and when I was starting on social media and all of those platforms, I would have loved to have had someone that I could listen, speak their truth. And it was, they weren't shy about it. There was nothing that was off limits. It wasn't taboo. And it was just great to hear. So I think, yeah, that's kind of my perspective on, the reasons behind why we started Back to Basics and what our truth is.
I love it. I go to bat for social media sometimes, which is a weird thing because I am very aware and conscious and also speak of just the harmful nature of us constantly being exposed to so much information and so much of what other people are doing and just, the shitstorm of just comparison and over analysis and overthinking that it just, creates within us. But at the same time, I'm very aware as a woman working from home, the opportunity and potential that the online world has opened up for me to be able to provide for my family through online business. So it is about not shitting on it. I don't think in 2023, we can say I'm just turning my back on it completely. You absolutely could, but I think it's a lot harder than most people would realize now because it is just so infiltrated into every area of our life. But I think what you're highlighting that is so important is in recognizing like who is setting the standard for what is being normalized. My worry sometimes is what we're just kind of just very numb to. One of the things that I see online that I've had to battle within myself, and I'm really like interested to hear your perspective, um, is that it's been normalized now for us to talk about the amount of money that people are making through their businesses. And we're constantly just kind of like slammed with people's kind of like income statements and their receipts. And even like I've seen people sharing their like tax file returns and shit, like just the most intimate details behind somebody's business as a way, I guess, to promote their success and their mission and their purpose in life. I'm deeply disturbed by it because to me, it just highlights privilege and
Yeah.
it just highlights materialism and capitalism and all sorts of things that we won't get into. But my greatest concern is the fact that this is so normal now.
Yeah.
And I don't know when this happened. And it just begs the question like, what else are we fucking normalizing and becoming numb to that's actually deeply damaging when we actually shine a spotlight of our own like consciousness on it? Can you
I
add
think,
to this?
yeah, I think people that have an online presence, also have a responsibility, right? Because you don't have to have 50,000 followers to be an influencer. You can honestly have 200 followers and post something that is potentially going to influence somebody else. And you have to be aware of that. It really does come with a responsibility, having a platform, whether it's small or large. And I think, especially if you do have a business that you run online, I think you have to bring it back to what are the pillars of your business? Is what I'm posting part of those pillars? Because I can tell you right now, posting my tax statement is not going to come back to, one of the pillars of why I run my business and the content that I want to put out. My business is all about getting women strong, getting women healthy, and getting women fitter. Yeah, it's about educating women to be their best, true, most confident selves. Posting my tax return is not going to get any kind of that message across. And I think, it's about a little bit of a flex as well. And I think a lot of these influencers to some degree actually have a lack of confidence themselves. And so they use these platforms as ways to stay relevant. They want those likes, they want those comments, they want those saves. And I think that's why they're posting things that have a degree of flex in them. I find it a little bit cringe, as you do, these sorts of things. I totally, understand if you want to, share a new car that you bought, because you've worked really hard for it. I understand that. You should be proud of the things that you've been able to do with the hard work that you've been doing. But, where does it stop?
But it begs the question, doesn't it? Can you be proud without showing everybody? Like, when did it become that we can only enjoy and experience and feel a sense of pride if we make sure that everybody that we're connected to is aware that we're proud of ourselves? And this
Mm,
is the part that I'm like, oh, we've just normalized these behaviors and we've accepted these behaviors. And I'm just curious. Like, I'm in no way making a statement about good, bad, right, wrong. It's
mm,
just, I feel like we're in this culture where we just do make these statements like, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. And what we kind of mean is like, it's been so normalized, I'm not going to push back anymore. I'm just going to
yeah.
accept it.
I think,
Interesting.
yeah, it is really about how you put your message across there, and I guess how flashy you try to be. If you run a fitness business, but you're constantly flashing your cars, your expensive cars at me, then I'm not really going to look at you as someone that I can trust with my fitness journey, or you know what I mean? Like, that's not really the sort of person that I would align to or aspire to be. Therefore, I'm not going to invest in you as a coach. You know what I mean? But I guess everybody's different. Some people might love that content. Some people love consuming that sort of content. And again, I completely understand that as well. And definitely those people, a lot of them have some sort of large following as a result of the content that they post. So it's obviously doing well for them. But for me, it really comes back to what my morals and my business values are.
Mm. When it comes to looking at your own feed and just really considering, are the people that I'm following, are the people that I'm connected with that are influencing me, inspiring me, educating me, still serving me? Do you have a personal filter for how it feels to know when it's just time to kind of let somebody go?
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to like health and fitness influencers, some of them I've been following for a really long time. So I kind of have seen the transition of, how their content has changed, how they've changed as people and evolved. And for some of them, they've even evolved or changed their businesses completely. And for me, it's really about, knowing if their message that they're now promoting is their truth, because I think, and I've said this before on Back to Basics as well, online, you can create any sort of persona you want. You can create the lifestyle that you want. You can have the cars that you want. You can create the image that you like. You can literally make up a whole person online. And, if you kind of put enough content out there, you can make people believe that that's who you are and that's what your lifestyle is. And even for myself, I have to remind myself that I even do that too. Like I've had people come to me and go, "Oh my God, I've seen on social media, like your life just looks like so put together and, all of this stuff." And I was like, "Really? It's definitely not, let me tell you." But yeah, it is about doing your research, especially if you are looking at, employing a coach online or, buying a product online or a service or any sort of stuff. You do really have to do your research. And I think now it's harder than ever because, you've got influencer marketing, you've got these amazing websites, and you've got brands all over these different platforms that are pushing out content, multiple times a day sometime, to know if it's real or if it's fake. Is it truthful or is it maybe not so much?
And I think, again, the onus comes back on the consumer. How much do you actually want to know the truth? I think for a lot of people, like, ignorance is bliss, and they're willing to just kind of be spoon fed the bullshit because it kind of feels good in the moment, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, you just, like I said, you just got to be aware, and you have to also filter. I think it's really important as well, because if you're consuming content and it's starting to have a negative effect on you, if you're comparing yourself to these people and that's making you feel down or, whatever it is, you need to be okay with also filtering that content, maybe unfollowing those people, kind of, muting those people for a moment, whatever you need to do to kind of push that aside, because consuming content that is having a negative effect ongoing is not going to be healthy for you.
I've 100% experienced this. And I think it happens slowly, which is what the dangerous part of it is. It's not like on one day you decide, like, this is what I'm interested in. I'm going to go and follow 500 of these accounts. But there was a period of my life that I was so entranced and just engaged in, like, the whole bodybuilding world. And so most of my feed had people preparing for competitions or being on stage. And I genuinely started to believe that healthy, fit bodies had to look a certain way. And then beyond that, I started to believe that most of the population was walking around looking like that. And it started to impact the way I would look at my own body, how I felt about myself, how I felt about my reflection. And this went on, quite honestly, subconsciously. I think about 6, 7 years of my life, there was like this standard that I was kind of trying to hold myself accountable to. And it was very heavily influenced by the content I was enjoying, very much enjoying on social media. And honestly, it wasn't until, might have been last year or the year before, I can't remember, but my husband and I, who are now in our mid 30s, and we're just like living our best lives and just eating all the things, relaxing in every way. We look nothing like we did in our 20s, thank God, because that was kind of a miserable lifestyle we were maintaining. We were at like a water park with our son, and we looked around, and I had this moment that I looked at general population, and not one single fucking person looked like the people that I was holding myself accountable to on social media. And
Yeah.
it sounds like such a ridiculous thing to say, but I stood there as a 35-year-old being like, oh my God, you have gaslit yourself into thinking that this is what it looks like out in the world. And these people are the minority. But I had led myself to believe that I was the odd one out, when really I'm blessed and privileged enough to just be in a very normal, healthy, vibrant body. Can you speak to this and how we kind of brainwash and gaslight the shit out of ourselves?
I mean, I guess my start in the fitness industry kind of over 10 years ago was actually managing a gym, which happened to be more of a bodybuilding focused gym. So I guess I was kind of encapsulated in that lifestyle from the very beginning. So I saw, like, my daily life is just watching people walking around eating chicken and rice and being shredded and always on the shred and leaning out or getting ready for a comp. But like, that was kind of my introduction to the fitness industry. So I guess kind of when I moved on from that gym and I started working at Fitness First, I was like, wow, like, this is so different to what I'm used to. Like, it really is the minority. And I think we do have to understand, it comes back to education, right? We do have to understand that that lifestyle is very tough for the normal person, right? It's a huge amount of sacrifice. It's a huge goal that just takes up so much time, money, everything, right? And I don't know about you, but that's not something that I want for myself personally. I did have that as a goal way back when, but let's be honest, I'm never meant to be a skinny, lean size 8 on stage walking around in a bikini. That's just not who I am. But great for those guys, but it really is something that takes up their whole life. And there's a lot of sacrifices that I'm just not prepared to make. And I think these days there's so many competitions that happen. I feel like every time I scroll through social media, someone's prepping for a bikini competition, and great for them. That is an amazing goal to have, and I wish them all the best. But, again, if it's making you feel shit, you have to filter that from your life. And I think, even kind of going as far as educating yourself, if you are interested in what that lifestyle is about, to find out a little bit more, you might seem like you sound like you did. You might see that it's probably not for you either, because I think at the end of the day, for a lot of people, bodybuilding is essentially a glorified eating disorder. For a lot of people, there is not
louder.
There is not many people that I know that have the mental strength to be able to diet for that long, to get down to a body fat percentage that is so low, to be like, to walk on stage and have yourself like pulled apart essentially and told how good or how shit you look, and then walk away from that and be fine. There is people that I know that can actually do that, and the lengths that people go to get to that level of leanness, to walk on stage for literally 5 minutes, it's crazy what some of those guys do. And I understand that they've got a goal, and that's fine, but what are the long-term repercussions physically and mentally of doing those sorts of competitions? Because that's the stuff that we don't see on social media, right? We see you working hard towards your goal. We see the bikini pics of you on stage, but we don't see all the other stuff. So I think that's really important to keep in mind as well.
Yes. And I think it's hard for people like you and I, right, who we likely have very close friends who are immersed in this world and do these things. And that's why it's very hard for us, those in the know, that know how deeply damaging it can be and know how harmful it is, the way that it's justified, the health repercussions and beyond of people that do this. We sit on it and we don't say it as directly as we probably would like to, because there's a part, I'll speak for myself, there's been a part of me that feels like I don't want to be shitting all over these people that I love dearly. And so how do I communicate this message to the vulnerable people that need to hear it without saying these people are fucking ridiculous? And when I look at this closely, I can't believe that this is normalized. I can't believe that this is justified. And it is madness to me. Madness.
Really about asking the question of why, like, why are you doing this? Because it's like I said before, it's a lot of sacrifice. It's a huge amount of money, like everything from the suit to the entry costs to the flights and accommodation, if that's needed, to the tan, the makeup, the hair, the posing instructors, the coaches, the food. Like, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars for this competition. And I do have a lot of friends that have done these competitions or are prepping towards these competitions just to do it for fun, just for funsies. And that's cool. That's fine. But if you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars and do something for funsies, you want to make sure that you come out the other side actually being really proud of your efforts. You know what I mean? Like, not coming out feeling worse or feeling worse about yourself, because that's essentially what we see a lot of. And those are the type of women that I have come to me after those competitions, that want to try and build up their self-esteem again, that want to try and build up their strength again, that want to try and get their actual health back, because they didn't have that when they were prepping for those competitions. And, you know, to bring it back to social media, we only see the glitter and the glamour of the whole competition, right? We don't see the nitty gritty, the hard stuff, you know, the mentally tough stuff. We don't see that stuff.
Yeah. And you are such an important and needed person. There needs to be the Lyndall that people can go to be like, and what now? And from my perspective too, like, I've had so many conversations with women that are resentful and almost rageful about the time, money, energy, and just length of time that they have spent in their one beautiful life actually replicating somebody else's dream, somebody else's success, somebody else's funsies, right? They look at somebody else and they look at their confidence. And I understand the way that this happens. We look at that woman who looks fully embodied and fully expressed and is celebrated by everybody around her. And there's the potential for somebody to think that if I do that, I'll feel that way. And I guess there's the downfall of realizing it never truly felt like that for me. And even in those moments of success, I could never really feel the fulfillment or the meaning associated with the success I thought I would experience, because it was never truly your goal. And I think, you know, these are the conversations that are really important to have. And one last thing before we move on, because I don't necessarily want this just to be, let's just bash the whole the whole scene, although we can. But who wins ultimately? It's the owners of the federations. It's just a big money making fucking machine. They don't care about you. They don't care about your career after this. They don't care about none of that, right? They care about their bottom line, lining their pockets. And I think that's the most important thing to kind of allow yourself to see. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning is it's not just about like looking at the way that people's bodies are looking online. This can be kind of translated to any area of your life. If you're interested in buying a new car, or maybe decorating your house in a certain way, or whatever it is, going on holidays, slowly but surely you start to follow these accounts that have the kind of like peak of the mountain example for you. And you might begin to believe this, everybody is going on holidays. Everybody is driving a new car. No, they're not. It's just been the people that you have magnetized and drawn towards you because of your interests. And I think it sounds so simple, but it's kind of like a very important wake up call to be like, what are you normalizing? What are you believing is, you know, the entire world's experience, the collective experience based on your feed, that has just been like something that you have kind of pulled in close towards you, that is now a cause of your own suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, social media, it can be a great place, but it can also be a very toxic place as well if you don't actually filter those negative things. You know, like I said to you before, I look at it from, you know, two sides, you know, the having the business, and also the social media marketing perspective as well. And, you know, it is just important to bring it back to educating yourself, filtering, and being okay with having time away from social media if it is negatively affecting you as well.
Lyndall, we could go on and on and on. But for today, my love, our time is up. I thank you so much. I'm going to link all of Lyndall's details in the show notes here. You can catch them on YouTube. You can catch them on all good podcast streaming services, Instagram, so that you can see her beautiful face and follow along her journey as she audaciously comes on here to shake shit up and get things right within you. So I thank you for sharing your energy here today, my love.